Welcome to Sliders and Wings, a podcast about the TV shows Sliders
and the TV show Wings
and all the other forgotten TV shows of the 90s.
I'm Valerie Temple.
And I'm Rachel Cox. And with us tonight, we have Nita Pom-Pom.
Hey, I'm Nita Pom-Pom.
Nita Pom-Pom is a local comedian, local to Philadelphia, and a big Parker Lewis Can't Lose fan.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I didn't know there'd be enough room here for the two of us. Did we get that reference? For those of you who can't see sound, I just held up three fingers.
Visual jokes are the podcaster's medium. I mean,
oh yeah, totally, absolutely. A lot of visual pranks here.
Yes.
Did either of you catch that Parker Lewis reference?
No,
not at all.
Okay. Well, there is a scene in some episode, I don't have no idea which one, where Kubiak says there's not enough room here for the two of us, and he holds up three fingers.
Oh, okay. It's not a middle finger joke. I thought it was a middle finger joke.
You know, maybe it was, but when I saw it in the 90s, I just thought it was funny because he was Kubiak, and he was, I think it was early in his character development, and so he was portrayed as the archetypal dumb jock.
My first note on this show is that it really does become the Koob show. I watched the first one, then I watched the second one, which was about him, and then randomly picked one from the third season, and it was also about him.
I think you and I watched that same episode. He had a really interesting character arc.
Well, he went from being able to speak full sentences to only talking like a caveman.
Was it like a Flowers for Algernon type of thing?
One of my favorite books is
yes.
The Haunting.
Charlie. Did you
Charlie
ever see
with
Charlie?
a Y.
Yes. The reference for the dumb guy becoming smart and then becoming dumb again.
Just a lot of feels reading that book.
I know. Why do they make everyone read that? I feel like they make I
never read it.
Like, oh, really? I feel like that's a 6th grade, 7th grade standard.
It was one of the few books my parents owned, and so I read it.
Who's Algernon? I'd like to know. You never find out.
I'm interested in reading short books meant for middle schoolers and adding it to my book list.
Yeah.
Read another one.
Oh yeah. I also like to read graphic novels because those take like a day to read. And I'm like, I'll write that down. It's a novel.
Last time we recorded, which was probably 3 weeks ago, I was bragging about the Ursula K. Le Guin book I was going to read, and I had to give up on it.
Oh no.
Every other book of hers I finished and enjoyed, but this one isn't told in a narrative structure, and that's what really gets me. It's told as if it's anthropological documents put together, so there's no narrative. Parts of it were poetry.
Oh,
no.
Nice.
Not gonna do that. Sorry, Ursula. Okay, so we are here to talk about Parker Lewis Can't Lose. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it was an American teen sitcom that originally aired on Fox from September 1990 to June 1993. It got a full 3 seasons during the, I was about to give away one of the quiz answers. The series depicts, don't read the Wikipedia, guys. The series depicts the tribulations of the titular character Parker Lewis, played by Corin Nemec, a Santo Domingo High School student for whom nothing is impossible, and it was strongly influenced by Ferris Bueller's Day Off. When you read about Parker Lewis Can't Lose, there's a lot of references to Ferris Bueller's because Ferris Bueller's had come out, but then around the same time that Parker Lewis went on the air, the Ferris Bueller show went on the air. Oh. And that show actually kind of fizzled and flopped, whereas Parker Lewis was a relative success.
And I had not seen Ferris Bueller prior to watching the series. I didn't see that movie until, I don't know, probably my 20s.
I don't know if I had either.
I definitely had, but that was because of Alan Ruck, supporting Alan Ruck.
Hometown hero.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know if you heard Anita, but Val's mom went to high school with Alan Ruck, so
that's a pretty big
deal. They're kind of related.
Yeah, I mean, sorry. He came to my mom's high school reunion and he was wearing a green suit and she got a picture with him. It was a braggable moment.
For sure.
So the premise is the title character, Parker Lewis, often narrates the episodes. Parker and his 2 friends are mainly concerned with being cool. Their efforts are often thwarted by Parker's little sister, Shelley, and the principal, Grace Musso. The show focuses on teenage life and has a living cartoon-like quality. That's one way to put it. There are clever camera angles and filming techniques. Dissolves from one scene to the next were done by ever larger pixels. Many episodes contain subtle references to movies, politics, and celebrities. The surrealism was toned down in the series' final season, with even Parker acknowledging this fact by breaking the fourth wall and canceling a dissolving pixel scene.
Yeah, on IMDb, the description, when you go to the page for Parker Lewis, it says, for a cool high school kid and his friends, thwarting authority figures and other enemies is not a problem. That sums it up.
I don't know, as a kid in a cornfield that barely got Fox because we had to like point our our rabbit ears like towards Chicago. It felt exciting to watch every episode because of that newness. Like, and again, we didn't have MTV either, so maybe kids who had MTV were like, this is old hat. I felt the same way when I watched Pulp Fiction in the theater a couple years later. I was like, oh my God, I've never been talked to like this as a kid watching TV. This feels so, I feel like I'm on the inside. This is so freaking cool.
Yeah, it really zings along. It's like fast moving and it's a bunch of wiseacres and they incorporate a lot of stuff. There's video tricks, there's music,
there's sound effects.
Yeah, they're really playing with a lot of stuff.
It started in 1990, so it still has kind of a 1980s Memphis design, Max Headroom kind of thing going on.
Yeah, an early MTV vibe. Cartoonish, big, colorful, this sarcastic sort of Gen X sensibility.
It's kind of dizzying. Like there's a lot of, it's not just zoomed in, but it's like zoomed in and angled down.
Well, and then there's every episode. I mean, I only watched the first 3, but every episode, it seems, starts with like a POV sort of gag. You're inside a refrigerator looking out as like Parker Lewis is opening the door and looking for something, and then his sister's looking for something. The next episode, you're inside the washing machine.
They keep going with for every episode?
Yeah, and I think it's a different thing you're inside of every episode.
Because I jumped to the 3rd season and they were in the attic. And he was trying to trick his sister to go into the attic so that he could lock her in there. My memory of watching this show was, I don't know if I watched it religiously, but I definitely really liked it. And I just remember having a crush on Corin Nemec and remembering synchronized watches. And that's
synchronized swatches.
That feels really 80s to me. Like swatches seems very 80s.
I grew up in Indiana, and in middle school, you traded swatches when you were going with somebody.
Oh, la la la. I like how every school has some sort of signifier like that. Friendship bracelets or slap bracelets. This guy has an armful of slap bracelets and that represents the 5 girls he made out with or something.
Well, speaking of kids' relationships, OSCAR, there's some people he likes, there's some girls that like him. And my adult brain is always like, all right, so like, where's this going? But then I have to stop myself and go, oh, it doesn't go nowhere. Like you'll have a crush for 5 years and that's the extent of it. And that's the way it's supposed to be. But I forgot all that. My crushes sustained me for many, many years as a child.
It was interesting how watching Parker Lewis brought back a lot of those feelings of being younger. I watched an episode where Shelley tricks the popular guy into kissing her.
I ended up on a rabbit hole of that actor. He died of a drug overdose at age 32.
That tracks. Yeah. But it got me thinking of that awkward, terrible time of wanting to be cool. But then also, I didn't remember consciously until I watched the episodes. I remember thinking, wait a second, Parker Lewis's girlfriend is really pretty and she's taking calculus. Where I'm from, it's either one or the other. If you're pretty, you have no incentive to be smart.
I mean, I guess that's nice that Parker Lewis is showing they can be hot and good at math. So
there was a girl in my high school who was busty and very pretty, and she did sports, and she was good at math and everything. And then one time I went to her house, and like my whole thing was being an artist, and that was the only thing I had going for me. And I went to her house, and there was a full wall mural of a color Calvin and Hobbes Sunday art scene of Calvin and Hobbes in a tree. Looked like the illustration, and she had done it. This fucking bitch can also paint. And like, it was the first time I was like, oh, not everyone like wears everything they can do on their sleeve and advertises it constantly.
Especially if you're good at everything. You're like, whatever.
He was like, well, yeah, I did that. Whatever.
I wonder what happened to her.
Actually, I was thinking I was going to Google her.
There's still time.
Yeah, you can do it. You can do it. I don't think I ever really watched this show. I think I might have been a little too young, maybe. Was this on Fox?
Mm-hmm.
It started in 1990, so I was 10, and that was probably when my mom was like, oh, your bedtime is 7:30. My bedtime was 7:30 until I was like 12 years old. I remember one time it was summer and I was in my bedroom just looking out a window watching the entire neighborhood play, and I was like, I'm supposed to be asleep now. This is horrible. So I don't think I ever watched Parker Lewis, but I do remember Corky Nemec from all of the Teen Beat magazines.
Corin
it was Corky.
It was for a minute.
He transitioned into Corin Nemec when he got Parker Lewis, but before that, he was Corky Nemec. And this will blow your mind, Nita. So Corin is not his real name. I assumed, oh, okay, so he's more of an adult now. He's transitioning into Corin. That's the more adult version of Corky. No, his real name is like Joseph Charles.
Shut the front door.
Corky was a nickname his grandma gave him. So then I think he had been Corky for such a long time that when he decided to make it more adult, he just came up with a made up name.
That's so fascinating.
That sounded similar to Corky.
It must be hard to adjust to answering to different names.
There are some people who never got good at it. Emma Stone, her real name is Emily. She was one of those people that had to change it because there was already an Emily Stone in the Register of Actors or whatever it is, right? So she's like, I guess I'll be Emma. I think she still makes people call her Emily. She's like, no, it's Emily. Please just call me Emily.
For me, Corin Nemec is more well known for right after this being in the Stand miniseries.
Oh, right.
I was obsessed with. He plays he's evil. He's like the devil's right hand man.
I feel like Kubiak had the biggest career after Parker Lewis.
Well, he was on ER.
And then the guy that plays Mikey, he played the younger brother in Just One of the Guys, which is one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah.
She wants to win a journalism scholarship or something, so she pretends to be a boy. He's like the horny younger brother, like 80s horny. Just One of the Guys from 1985.
I was sure that guy, Mikey, was Patrick Dempsey. I had to look it up. I thought they looked exactly the same. So
I could see that.
Yeah, they're like looky-likeys.
Very much so, especially the 80s Patrick Dempsey. And then the younger sister, Shelley, she was in Adventures in Babysitting. She's the girl who's obsessed with Thor.
And apparently she was in Back to the Future.
She was?
Yeah, she played in 1955. She played the mom's younger sister.
Oh, wow. What a role. So memorable.
I actually found my journal from 1995. Here's an entry. This is dated April 17th, 1995. And I write, right now I am using Maya's Barrel Fine Point 7700 to write shit. I was on campus at Yale for a pre-freshman visit, like the campus visit days. And Maya is Maya Bruton, who played, and I quote, the girl who played Shelley on Parker Lewis Can't Lose is the sweet mate of the person who I was a recruit for track. And so there was this girl who was on the track team who I was staying with, and it was one of her sweet mates.
What?
And the last two tidbits of intel that I wrote were, she smokes Camel Wides and listens to Sam Phillips.
Wow. Did you die? I mean, when you showed up?
I was beside myself because I was such a fucking fan. The two shows that were huge for me were Degrassi Junior High on PBS and Parker Lewis Can't Lose. I was obsessed with those, and of course The Simpsons. And then I realized, oh wait, she might be in the yearbook. So her junior year in college, there's a picture of her in the yearbook. She was in an improv comedy troupe called Just Add Water.
Just Add Water.
Just Add Water. I don't know.
Oh my God. The name of every college improv troupe is so embarrassing.
It was like the Purple Crayon and the Viola Question.
The one at Kenyon was The Fools on the Hill. As a college kid who was interested in comedy, and it's like such a small world there, what a big deal to get into the Fools on the Hill, and then also there was like an a cappella group on campus that was a big deal too, and you're like, whoa, the stars on the campus. I think about it now and I'm like, oh my God. I'm just embarrassed for myself and embarrassed for everybody involved.
So in her senior year yearbook, so she was in Davenport. I'm looking at the row of pictures of seniors. Did you guys watch the Abercrombie documentary on Netflix? Oh. So there's a guy in it who basically tries to explain what a mall is as basically a search engine that you walk through. And I know him because he was the year above me. His name's Pat Carone. He was the editor of Details magazine or Max and one of those. Before that, he helped edit the quarterly publication that Abercrombie and Fitch came up with. Well, he is 2 over from Maya Louisa Bruton in her yearbook photo, which she's wearing a dark turtleneck sweater, looking a lot like Sarah Gilbert actually in it. Well, her address is apparently Spokane, Washington. And her quote that she put was, and then one day you open a door and tumble into a pit of infinity, which is from Susan Sontag's The Volcano Lover. And I give you a pass. If in college you quote Susan Sontag, that's allowed. You're allowed to quote Susan Sontag if you want. At some point, it becomes pretentious to start dropping Foucault and Wittgenstein and Sontag, you know what I mean? But like, if you're in college, like, it's totally cool.
That's the moment. That
is the moment. You bring it.
You have to spend that currency while it's still good, because after college, people won't let you. They're just like, no.
It's true.
That is really one of the most pretentious yearbook quotes I've ever heard. So
pretty good.
Fully for her.
These yearbooks are just full of them. Just open a page and you're going to find a bunch.
I don't think my college had yearbooks.
Probably experimental or interpretive dance.
It was a laser disc.
If Parker Lewis went to your school, it'd be a video montage.
In the second episode, he's at his dad's video store and his dad's doing math really fast. And he's like, all right, laser disc, that's $69.99. Renting the Nintendo, that's $29.99 a night. I was like, a laser disc costs $70?
They were really expensive. They were like the size of a vinyl.
Like a record player, but made of
a CD. Right? It was made of CD.
Made of CD.
And to watch a movie, you had to flip it over in the middle.
And I don't recall the quality being any better because you still played it on that shitty TV that was like the size of a moving box.
I think for real heads, it was like the Blu-ray of its day. They're like, no, it really is better.
Blu-ray seems to be hanging on.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
I have decided that the most 90s of everything of all time is vests.
Oh my God.
Unnecessary vests.
They're coming back and I'm so excited.
Everyone wearing vests all the time.
I had a purple suede vest bought deep clearance from the mall and it was like I wore it all the time.
Purple suede? Ooh, that sounds
delicious.
delicious.
A vest is so good for hiding a chest, whether it be too large or too small. Who knows what's going on under there?
Who knows? It's obfuscating reality.
Aaron and I were watching An Officer and a Gentleman. That's like early 80s. But Richard Gere is picking up Deborah Winger and he's like, let's go. And she's like, wait, I got it. She's like, grabs this tiny vest and puts it on. I was like, what do you need that for? You're like, hold on 1 second. Put on a vest. That's not warming you up. That's not protecting you from anything. They hop on this motorcycle, drive right out of there. It's not even a leather vest. Even though I didn't watch Parker Lewis, I was aware of the Parker Lewis look, which is just a patterned short sleeve silk shirt
all the way here,
all
like
the way,
like a gringo papi chulo.
Yes, all the way to the throat. It's a good look.
Early John Fetterman when he's dressed up.
Yeah. It's not something that anyone but a teen idol could pull off, I think. Corin Nemec, very handsome, very cute and handsome.
I don't think he was that engaging though.
That's what's tricky about the show for me is that I do feel like Parker Lewis is the least interesting character. Like I want to know more about Shelley. I want to know more about Kubiak. He's very blank. And he's cool. I don't know if I care that much about someone who's cool. What do you have to say?
Yeah, he was almost like not very sympathetic. And it was great. Yeah. I like the fact that the guy who was supposed to be cool was actually the least interesting because that felt very relatable. There was one episode that I thought was like so new and fresh. This is again the Shelley trapping the guy into kissing her and she's like stuffing her bra. And that was like, oh my God, this TV show is like speaking to my adolescent discomfort and awkwardness in such a prime time way. I'm feeling less alone and like awkward. I love this show.
I was reading through episode descriptions. Every episode that was Shelley centric grabbed me. This one, I really need to see this. The episode is it's from season 2. It's called A Walk on the Dark Side. Constantly finding herself in the shadow of her brother, Shelley finds a new identity. The Darksiders were a group of kids that didn't fit the regular high schooler mode as they dressed darkly, wreaked havoc, and were very mysterious in nature. So Shelley becomes a goth. I'm into it. I want to see it. The Dark
It's a good
Sider.
name, yeah.
And it really is. It's better than Goth. It seemed like Shelley cycled through a lot of identities. She was like trying on different personalities, which I feel like is very relatable. I mean, I definitely had a friend as we were growing up who just like was constantly cycling through new things. She was like, okay, I'm a preppy this week. Okay, now I'm Alterna. I bought a pair of Airwalks. And then next time I talked to her on the phone, she's like, have you heard of ICP? And I was like, oh no. So she just cycled into like a juggalo, and that was the end game. That was tough. There's another episode in season 1 where Shelley wants to become a Vogue. That was the name of these cool, fashionable girls. And I was interested in that. Oh, the Vogues. What a cool title for that group, or like that clique or segment of teen society. The Vogues and the Darksiders. Square off. I'd watch that.
Well, we have a segment called Adjacent TV. If you like this, you'll love Totally Mini.
What's Totally Mini?
It was this 1988 TV special all about, oh my God, you haven't seen it? Wait.
No.
We had taped it off TV, so we've seen it like hundreds of times. It's part animation, part live action. This is where Elton John sings Don't Go Breaking My Heart, and he duets with Minnie. And the funny story of this is that the woman who did the voice of Minnie and the guy who did the voice of Mickey met during the creation of Totally Minnie, and they fell in love and got married.
Wow.
Which I found out recently. But the plot is that who's the main character from Revenge of the Nerds?
Yeah. He's actually like Carradine, Robert Carradine.
He is a nerd and he wants to be cool. So he goes to Minnie, but also Suzanne Summers is there. And they're giving him lessons on how to be cool. This whole thing's on YouTube, Totally Minnie, 1988. It's basically a lot of montages and dance sequences and videos, and it's just all about learning how to be cool.
That sounds insane.
The most 80s thing you could ever imagine.
Lessons in how to be cool. Wonderful. He goes to Minnie Mouse to learn how to be cool. Is that it?
I can't remember if Minnie Mouse is the consultant or Suzanne Summers, but one of them is they work together.
When I think cool, I don't immediately think Minnie Mouse or Suzanne Summers, right? The Fonz is cool. That's who you would want lessons in coolness from, right?
If you're at the very bottom and you're a complete nerd, then
you need a makeover.
You can.
I think Suzanne Summers would be good to give somebody a makeover.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm very excited about my Mad magazine.
Okay.
I'm going to skip accent court. I don't know if we have any accents.
Oh, none. I think I just wrote pass.
Anita, so we have a section called Mad Magazine where we think about what punny title Mad Magazine might use should they do a parody of this show.
Rachel.
Mine is Parker Lewis Can't Chew.
Mine is more of a commentary. It's Parker Lewis's Justice News.
Nice. I will upvote that one for sure.
Thank you.
The fold out could be when it comes together, it's Parker Lewis smiling, but when it's just the back, it's like boringness. It's nothing.
I feel like there are facial similarities between Alfred Ian Newman and Corin Nemec's face. Like I could see that it looks like Parker Lewis when it's closed and you open it up and it's Alfred Ian Newman's face.
For sure. There's something with like the busyness of his shirt could also easily hide some stuff in the pattern of his shirt.
Attacking animals or something. Those shirts made an indelible impression to me. Like every time I see a shirt like that at the thrift store, I want to buy it, even though they're hideous and also sort of unwearable. It's like, who needs a silk shirt?
So what's the final word on Parker?
I thought it was great and revolutionary. And there's a YouTube video where the actors reconvene in France, about 3 minutes. It's great, if only to see how they all look as grown-ups.
On the IMDb trivia, one of the items was Melanie Chardoff, who plays, I think, the mom, is the only major cast member not to appear as herself in the DVD collection of season 1 of the show. And then it says, it would have been great to see her.
I love that the person who wrote the Wikipedia page, I mean, I know it's multiple people, but someone was writing episode guides and they referred to Corin's parent as her mom. British person in here writing Parker Lewis Can't Lose recaps.
Like what's happening here?
Like America, we're a virus.
It would have been great to see her. I like this commentary on the trivia. You don't speak for all of us. I'm glad
Oh.
she wasn't there.
I really want to watch them when my kid gets a little older. When my daughter gets a little older, I want to watch some of them with her. You know, there's wiseacreiness, it's fun writing, and we could watch it like the anthropological excursion. It was such a great TV show to be able to have as an awkward middle schooler, to know that others were awkward too. The pablum that's available today, it's like on the Disney Channel and it's too polished and the actors look like they're 27.
I thought it was a fun show. The episodes I watched, it was really fun, but it's definitely not a show that you could binge, I think it's too frenetic. You're just like, I felt like I watched 3 episodes in a row and there was like sensory overload for me.
I felt like it was very much style over substance. There was no emotional center to the episodes. That kind of, it is very clippy, which might be why it's kind of hard to watch more than one. But I could see as a child, like that first time when you get a reference to something, whoa, I get that.
Yeah. Totally.
They had some interesting references too. I think in the first episode, Parker Lewis says the principal that they don't like, Musso. They're like, if Blade Runner had a principal, she would be it. And I was like, whoa, Blade Runner? Would that have meant anything to the audience watching Parker Lewis?
That was huge. Blade Runner was huge because that came out in, I think, 88.
Maybe.
They also called her Mussolini.
That's easy.
I thought there was some smart like for smart kids.
There's like some fun cheeky stuff. So
I mean,
especially
it's not like the number one dictator that comes to mind, you know what I mean?
But it's the number one dictator that comes to mind when the character's last name is Musso.
I'm just saying when I was 10, I didn't know who Mussolini was. So it's
my kid definitely knows who Hitler, because she's like really into the Soviet Union right now and communism. 9. I'm hearing like the freaking Russian military marches on a YouTube all the time. We haven't mentioned Mussolini specifically, but now it's a talking point for this weekend. So
your recommended videos on YouTube must be insane. Like, this is a eclectic mix of stuff that's being promoted to me.
It's a battle marches of every single what it is. It's like the Ukrainian battle march, of course, gets a lot of airtime in this house.
Wow, that's exciting.
Nita, let me give you a little quiz. It's only got 10 questions.
Okay.
We'll learn something in the process. Okay. What pop punk band released a song titled Parker Lewis Can't Lose, but I'm going to give it my best shot on their 2002 debut album? Val knows. Okay.
I know.
You guys want to go head to head? See buzz.
Yeah, there she goes.
Is it Fall Out Boy?
Yes.
Yeah. The Parker Lewis influence in music, it goes pretty deep. There's a lot of interesting groups that reference Parker Lewis, like SWV, Fall Out Boy, House of Pain. SWV.
This is with voices?
With voices?
Yes, that's what I said. I was like, what?
Whoa.
What did the show change its name to in season 3?
I feel like I can guess.
What?
Was it just Parker Lewis?
Yes.
Yes.
Question 3. Who played Parker's love? I mean, so to be fair, Val and I both recently watched this one, but Nita didn't. Who played Parker's love interest in the pilot episode?
Mila Jovovich.
That's right.
She's so beautiful.
Just says 3 words.
But she's very convincing as a girl that both Mikey and Parker would be slobbering over.
Definitely. This one you should be able to guess on context. In season 1, episode 5, Mikey drops out of school to become a musician. What reggae singer cameos in this episode? There aren't that many reggae singers that are alive in 1990, so.
Bob Marley.
Ziggy Marley.
Okay.
I assume Bob Marley was dead by then, but
I mean, I wouldn't have known who that was back then. I have to rewatch that one.
I could have done 30 questions that are just like who cameoed.
You sent me one that was Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
But did you realize why I was sending it to you?
Because of Erie, Indiana?
Yeah, because it was insulting Erie, Indiana.
Apparently they were constantly insulting Erie, Indiana. In pep rallies, they'd have the background actors hold up signs that would say stuff like, don't watch Erie, Indiana. They also had one that was like, don't watch another show. Like
Whole High.
Whole High, which is a show apparently nobody watched because I've never heard of it. So
Number 5, what president is Frank's hero? Frank is the principal's henchman.
Nixon?
Take a guess. Yes. This is all what I gleaned from the episode descriptions of Wikipedia. 6, what is the name of Parker's father's video store?
Oh, Mondo Video.
Yes. In season 3, Larry, Coob, Hides in the school air ducts to avoid what?
Mm.
To avoid getting what?
A
A vaccination.
vaccination.
Shut the front door. How
Wow.
Coop scared.
Coop scared.
Number 8. What MTV VJ makes an appearance as themselves in season 2, episode 24, Home Alone with Annie?
Downtown Julie Brown.
Name another female VJ.
Oh. What do you got, Nita?
We didn't have cable.
Me neither. So I really don't have that
Oh,
many.
okay. Martha Quinn.
Oh, yes. Okay. I know that name, but it's
I don't
not-
even know that name.
Yeah.
What Stephen King movie adaptation is parodied in season 3?
Would it be The Stand? No.
No. Carrie.
Ooh, okay.
I guess there's a
High
whole
school
prom.
prom.
There's a prom thing.
Okay, that makes sense.
I mean, it sounded really good based on the episode description. Last one. What is the name of the rock star Shelley is obsessed with?
Oh, Jezebel.
Yes.
It was another Shelley episode that piqued my interest. I was like, oh, Shelley has another interest? What is it? I would have watched the Shelley show,
Totally agree.
which I think is what Square Pegs is. That's the Shelley show.
I never saw Square Pigs. I know what it is, but
It's pretty good.
now is the part of the show where we talk about some other good things we're watching, good or bad things. And it's called What You Watching.
Barry.
Oh, yeah.
I love the show. And the Fonz is in it. And the guy who plays his son is the brother of a woman. She was a girl when I met her that I took French class with
What? Weird. You've got a lot of weird connections.
many, many years ago. Yeah. And then we're watching Hacks too, although the main characters are both so unlikable that it's ugh. We finished Ozark. We're finishing Better Call Saul, of course.
We dropped off Better Call Saul. I think we may watch the first season and then didn't watch it again.
That's a show that Aaron watches without me. I mean, I like Bob Odenkirk. I watched all of Breaking Bad. Michael McKean is in Better Call Saul, and at least he was. I don't know what's happened to his character, but there's just something about it that didn't keep me going.
It's a
Yeah.
slow burn.
I think prequels are hard too. I mean,
Yeah, you're locked into some stuff. You know that he's gonna live.
And like some characters didn't see them in Breaking Bad, so they were resolving off screen somehow.
No, I love Barry though.
My favorite
funny.
character is the guy from Chechnya with the no eyebrows.
Oh,
Barry.
Barry.
No, Hank needs his own spinoff. If
I
he
think-
dies, he needs a prequel. Like he's great.
I disagree with you because I feel like a little of NoHo Hank goes a long way. And if it was just him, it would be like the Joey spinoff. You're like, I don't know if this character is lovable in small doses,
Fair enough.
but not sustainable as the driver for the entire story. But he is so good. He's the funny. I don't know where they found that guy, but he is incredible.
all right, I'm putting Barry on my list.
Oh, I love it. No, but it's really funny though, because this is the 3rd season. It just started and they were about to start filming season 3 when COVID hit. So like there hasn't been a new season of Barry in like 2 years. And so what happened last season scenes really didn't jog any memories for me. I was like, I don't remember what happened at all.
And we watched the last 2 episodes of the previous season to be like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah, and like it's a lot of stuff that happens, and I was like, I don't remember it all. So I feel like I'm gonna have to rewatch the first 2 seasons before I truly understand what's going on right now.
How about you, Rachel?
Yeah, what are you watching?
I have a list of 5 things here.
Oh,
Okay, so there's 2 series that I've watched it's been 3 weeks since.
I know it's been a long time.
So I watched 2 things in completion. One was Outer Range on Prime. Do not recommend. Well, aren't you starting to feel now that they have these shows that are like, it's spooky, something weird's happening. We'll get to it in season 2 or 3. So it's like
yeah.
all just like a drawn out pilot, almost like they reveal almost nothing. Josh Brolin plays a Montana rancher who just like finds a giant weird space hole in his land
Sure.
and then proceeds to tell no one about it for 8 episodes.
Oh.
Other mysterious things happen, and then there's a character he played the guy that married Dan Levy's character in Schitt's Creek. He's on it, and he just sings a lot. So they tried to make it a little Twin Peaksy. There's not only a Native American sheriff, but she's also a lesbian. So there's like a lot of identity politics in it that I don't know. Everything's kind of shoehorned in there. So it's Josh Brolin and Lily Taylor. So they're both really good, but I don't know. The characterization is strange. So Greg and I together watched a show on Peacock that I do recommend. It's not like amazing, but it was cute and it's interesting. And it's called Killing It. And it stars Craig Robinson and that Australian comedic actress, Claudia something. She's always on podcasts and stuff, but they're two people that are kind of living hand to mouth in Florida, and they join that contest where you win money if you kill the most, is it pythons? There's like these snakes that have accidentally been released and then overpopulated the Florida Everglades. There's bounties on them. If you like Craig Robinson at all, it's pretty good. It's cute. Again, won't blow your mind, but it's like a cute comedy, and there's like 8 or 10 episodes. Now, what I watched the other day that I cried multiple times at was Peggy Sue Got Married by Francis Ford Coppola.
Rachel, I just watched that just a couple months ago.
Okay. I used to watch this a lot in my memory, I watched this 100 times, probably it was twice, but it was indelibly burned into my brain. But seeing it as a 42-year-old woman, I was like, she goes back in time to see people, and these people aren't dead in her timeline, but just the scene where she like sees her younger sister and she just like holds her, and like, it was very moving to me. I thought she's talking to people as a teenager. They think she's a teenager, but she has the foresight of a middle-aged woman who's already had kids. And I found it very sentimental and nostalgic, but also very poignant. And I read the Roger Ebert review from when it came out, and he kind of said the same thing. It came out like right after Back to the Future, and Back to the Future is this really goofy stylistic take on going back in time. And Peggy Sue Got Married, it's not really explained why she goes back in time, but it's more of like, I'm the person that usually is very hung up on answers, and it doesn't really matter in the sense of this movie. Either she did go back or it was her imagination or whatever. But on the scenes with her grandparents, don't get me started.
Yeah, it's a very sweet and sentimental movie.
Sofia Coppola ruins every scene she's in, as she usually does, where like every single thing she says has to be EDR'd after.
I also watched a movie about time travel, like a completely forgotten movie from 1979 called Time After Time, starring Malcolm McDowell and Mary
Steenburgen. They met and got married.
That's right. That is why I requested the movie from the library. I was like, what's this movie where Malcolm McDowell and Mary Steenburgen fell in love? Set in San Francisco, but first it starts out in like 1893 London, because Malcolm McDowell plays H.G. Wells, and he's built a time machine. It starts out at a dinner party where, all these British guys are playing chess and talking about the future. And it turns out that one of H.G. Wells's buddies is actually Jack the Ripper. And, knock, knock, knock. The constables are at the door, hot on the trail of his friend. And, he's nowhere. We can't find him. Oh, that's because he used H.G. Wells's time machine to travel to 1979 San Francisco. So then Malcolm McDowell has to get into this time machine and follow after him.
He had 2 machines?
There's a lot of exposition about how this machine works. The first 15 minutes of the movie, I'm just like, well, this is bad and boring and very complicated. It actually gets pretty enjoyable when they get to 1979. But yeah, the time machine has this key that if you travel without the key, the time machine just returns back without you or something.
Wasn't there a movie kind of like this with Christopher Reeve and Jane Seymour?
Somewhere in Time.
I don't think that Jack the Ripper was in that one, but
no. Somewhere in Time is also a time travel romance where basically Christopher Reeve falls in love with like a photograph. She's an actress at this hotel from 90 years ago or something. And he basically wills himself to travel back into time just by thinking about it enough.
This all leads to the question, which is, should I ever watch Outlander?
Oh, I don't know. I have that same question for myself.
It has intrigued me to the point where I might watch it because it doesn't seem to make any sense. I asked someone to explain it to me once, and he was just like, I was like, what? Multiple people in her family have all gone back in time? What?
But I hear it's pretty sexy, so there's that too.
But then Girls 5 Eva came back.
What is this?
Girls 5 Eva. Nita. There's a show. It's on Peacock. It's similar to 30 Rock or Kimmy Schmidt. It's like got that same producer, right, Val? Or so it's like fast-paced, jokey, NBC kind of thing.
Mm.
But it's about a girl group from the early 2000s that gets back together. So there's a lot of early 2000s jokes, girl group jokes.
Oh, this could be good. We just watched Senior Year with Rebel Wilson.
Oh yeah, how was that?
I thought it was perfectly fine for folding laundry. Lee was extremely into it. He was like, I'm shocked at how I'm having like early 2000s nostalgia. And so if this show has some sort of early 2000s nostalgia, he might be into it.
I think that shows for him.
Sarah Bareilles, the singer and composer, plays one of the people in the band, and she's written a bunch of original music that's very earwormy.
Lovely voice. So
the songs are really funny. There are songs from that show that really made me chortle. I still think about New York Lonely Boy. That was
New
one.
York Lonely Boy. Yeah, I highly recommend. The second season, I can't pass judgment on yet. I've only seen the first two, but and then Kids in the Hall. Kids in the Hall has new episodes.
Never seen it.
Oh,
what?
We watched the first three. The third one really took a dip. Greg fell asleep. You know, the original Kids in the Hall was not like every single sketch was a banger.
That's true. Yeah.
So, you know, you've got to temper your expectations.
I liked the new season a lot. I think what was so interesting about it was I feel like I've never seen something like this before, where it's men in their 60s doing sketch comedy.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
They don't really let them do that. And it's these guys that there were 5 seasons of Kids in the Hall in the 90s, and it's the same guys. They're back at it 30 years later. It's kind of heartwarming that they still like each other enough to do this and also are still creative. It feels like there's a really hot moment in your life where all of your creativity happens. And then if you make it, the quality dips a little, or maybe you're like retreading a lot of the stuff that you do. I think it's pretty cool to see them. It's not like the new season, they just trotted out all of the hit characters, quote unquote, whatever you could call a Kids in the Hall hit, right? I felt like it was a lot of new ideas, but also just really in the zone of what their voice is, which I think is very unique.
I like the faxing sketch with the 2 Kathys. That was funny. All right. Well, lots to think about.
Yeah.
Nita, thank you very much for coming on and talking all things Parker Lewis with us.
Thanks for having me.
It was a pleasure.
All right. Stay 90s. Stay vested.
Synchronized swatches, everybody.
Synchronized swatches.
Totally. Radical man.
All right. You've been listening to Sliders and Wings, the podcast, and you can email us at slidersandwings@gmail.com or check us out on Instagram at Sliders and Wings Pod. All right. Bye.
Bye.